Whoa, 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 we, you and me and you, it's the Danny Karen Show.
Danny Karen here, and you know what's good? I mean, really good. Well, it's actually weird timing. That's what it is. It's weird timing. So I have a job outside of YouTube land. I know it's true. It's hard to believe, but it's true. And so I have like a daily thing that I follow because those that know me in real life know and they understand that I'm pretty much like a cookie cutter, you know? Like I gotta do the same thing at a certain time every day that I'm working, and like, you know, the weekend is like a little bit different. It's like more relaxed and it's more enjoyable, and you know, I'm not really set on a really strict schedule, or like it's a less strict schedule, I would say. And so it's a Friday, and it's around 3:30 and change, and exactly 4:05 on the dot. I'm not exaggerating. I'm serious. 4:05 on the dot. You know, I stop eating my lunch, and I put my jacket on, and I got my work bag, and this, that, the other thing, and I head out the door, and I drive over to my job, and you know, it's a very scheduled, very anal retentive situation that I'm in, and that's how I do business. So I'm sitting there eating my lunch, and I see these big like construction vehicles coming down my block, and they're stopped on the side a little bit, and I'm looking out, and I'm like, what's going on here? And as it turns out, that was the time and the day they decided to repave my street. Like 3:30 in the afternoon, which is kind of weird because they had to be back at the office by like 5, let's say, so they can clock out for the day. And I knew it was going to take more than like an hour and a half to repave the road. And I'm sitting there and I'm just like, what's going on here? And so I go outside, do, just like that. And I'm talking to the foreman, and he's just like, well, it's not going to be done today because there was a problem with, like, the street or one of the machines or something like that. I don't know. I really didn't pay much attention to the guy. And I was really stressed out because I was just like, like, how do I get to work? How do I get to work? You know, do I steal one of their machines or pickup trucks or whatever the case is, and like drive to my job and hopefully I won't get arrested? Or like, do I drive on my neighbor's lawn? Now, I live on the corner house, so all I had to do was, you know, go to the end of the driveway and maneuver my Jeep around, and then like drive on the lawn a little bit, hit the intersection, and then boom, I'm out of there. And well, they did their work a little bit, and then they stopped and they left, and I was just like, I had to drive on like freshly worked on street, but it was okay because I made it to my job and the tires are still strong and stuff like that. But like, the idea of driving on my neighbor's lawn was really exciting, and I didn't get to do it and go off-roading in a Jeep, which is what I think is really fun. And hopefully you find it to be fun one day. But yeah, I was ready to drive on my neighbor's lawn so I can get to work. But enough about me and my problems. Let's go back many years ago in a faraway place. I used to work in retail. I was in retail for 3 years, 3.5 years, let's say, and I didn't like it. And I liked the customers. They were kind of cool, but I never liked it. And I kept asking myself, how is it that some people enjoy retail? I don't know. But me being me, I found somebody who I truly admire, who loves retail and loves people, and like, her store is the spot. It's the place to be here in Patchogue, New York. Because not only do they sell like clothing mostly geared towards women, but they sell like the coolest games here. Like, not video games. We're talking about like old retro before video games games. Like, you don't really see that all that much, like, ever. Like, maybe online, maybe when someone's like, you know, showing a YouTube video about it, but you don't see it like live and in person that much. So they have so many cool things. We're gonna get a tour of this store. So without more delay, I'd like to bring aboard, please welcome Dominique. All right.
Hey, Danny. Hey, everybody. Thanks
Hello.
for having me on the show.
Thank you for coming down.
Yeah,
well, no,
absolutely.
well,
Thank you for opening up.
thank you for opening up your store.
Totally.
And so tell us, what made you into retail? Like, a lot of people, like, they don't like it. And, like, there's actually a book out called Retail Hell. But, like, I see you in your shops and your events, and you do so well with these places. But, like, what made you say, I want to sell stuff for a living?
Well, it's a little bit of a backstory because I actually never worked in retail prior to having retail stores, ironically.
Wow.
I started collecting vintage clothing and selling vintage clothing when I was like an early teen, around 13, 14. My mom was super into antiques. I would go to like estate sales and garage sales with her, and she got me into that. I was into like the American Girl dolls and history, and so that snowballed a little bit into, and I was an off kid because I didn't speak English at first. I spoke Polish first, and then I was artsy and I was different, and my parents were always like, don't worry about what the other kids say, like, just do your thing. So
right.
I did my thing. And so like when it came time to starting to dress myself, I liked things that were colorful, I liked things that were different. And as I would go to these like estate sales and different sales, I found things that were vintage, which I didn't even know what it was. I just gravitated towards them because they were unique and one of a kind. And then I ended up finding a couple of things that were of value. eBay came around that time. I was always also like a hustler as a kid. I would bring like sausage to elementary school and like sell it, or I would have like a lemonade stand or whatever.
What? It's amazing.
And you know, my allowance never just cut it, so I was always looking for like side gigs and side
Whoa,
hustles. And
that's so cool.
I started selling things on eBay when I was in like 1997, and I did that throughout middle school and throughout high school.
Wow.
And then when I went to college in Chicago at the Art Institute, I consigned stores that were vintage boutiques, and I learned a little bit more about vintage clothing and the dating and everything. And when I moved back to New York, I was working as a designer, and the design thing, I enjoyed the creative aspects, but I didn't enjoy being at a desk all day. I'm a very like interactive people person. I'm
Right.
very like hands-on, so being tethered to a desk was a little bit limiting. So I quit that job, and then the economy collapsed, so there weren't too many other jobs available at the time. So I started like bartending and raising the money, and also trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And it was like I wanted to go for art education, which they were doing cutbacks in art ed at the time. And then there was this thing that I've always been doing, my side hustle, selling vintage clothing, that I ended up collecting different fixtures and raising money and everything, and collecting inventory to one day open my own store. I took a class at the library on how to write a business plan, and
wow.
I originally wanted to open in Manhattan, and then once I took the class at the library, I was just like, oh, these numbers don't add up. And then I started looking at Long Island, And, in 2012, I opened up Paper Doll Vintage Boutique in Sayville, and then I was open there for a while. We still are. And then when the Patchogue location became available, and I found a really cool location in Patchogue, which was actually one of the first towns I wanted to open in. And it was still up and coming back when I first opened in Sayville, but like when it became available 2 years ago, it had already like up and came, and I was like, I want that spot. And it's a different demographic here. It's during the day there's a lot of young families. At night there's people like going out eating and drinking. So I was like, I'm going to tailor this store to be different than my other store. I don't want to be my own worst competition and have another store just like it 10 minutes away, because Sayville's right up the road.
This is
So
true.
this is more of like a spin-off where it's a little more punky, a little more funky, a little more retail, like, true retail based, as opposed to like secondhand and vintage based. So
Right.
this has it's both like two sides of my personality, kind of, when I was growing up and expressing myself. I loved the vintage clothing, but I was also like punky, gothy, and other things that were more contemporary but still alternative. So
Right.
that store focuses really on the vintage aspects and the history, and is a little more boutique-y, feminine, high-end, and then here is a little more funky, novelty, punky, quirky, and here we are.
Wow. You explained a lot of my questions.
That's the whole story in a nutshell.
So, what era in retro history is your favorite, and why? Uh-oh.
Well, we just did have a 1920s event, and I do like the 20s a lot because it was the time during Prohibition, and then there were the people that were rebellious, like the flappers, that were breaking the rules and breaking traditions. And it was a time where, there was a lot of people kind of standing up for what they wanted to do and break out and go party and wear short dresses and not wear corsets and all that. And so that was definitely a huge turning point with like the emergence of jazz music, and also even with like technology developing, that, and controversy and politics and everything. That was just a very pivotal point in history, and I love the fashions too. So that's one of my favorite eras.
Awesome.
I like the 60s too.
The 60s?
They're like fun, mod, go-go. 60s like 70s, because they're like really fun, and a lot of good music emerged around then too.
Oh yeah,
So
like the Beatles, the Rolling Stones.
yeah, I'm a rock and roll girl, so.
And that other girl I was listening to, but I totally forgot her name. So I guess she's not that important after all. But it'll come to me.
Mm-hmm.
So like, how did you discover Sayville? Because I know I'm not going to tell people where town you live in, but I know where you live. So I want to know, knowing where you live, what made you choose Sayville over the town that you live in? Because this is why I say this, because I know the main street of the town that you live in, and I think it's a pretty decent area. But like, what made you say, I'm going to go to Sayville instead of wherever I'm in?
There's not a lot of foot traffic where I'm at. I mean, in general, looking at like Long Island as a whole, like I spent a good amount of time going to every single town on Long Island, sitting there, going into different businesses, seeing who came in and seeing what the pace of the town was. My store doesn't really exactly fit into like a strip mall kind of scenario.
No,
so
definitely not.
It's not like something that'll fit in between like a pizzeria and a nail joint, which I think is
No.
a lot of like what my town is kind of like in a way. It's a lot of like
like on
regular
like the main
stores.
street, where like the General Electric store
Yeah.
is what I'm imagining right now. And like across
It's
the street is
still-
like Starbucks.
Okay, well, in that town, like, yeah, why do people get? It's the foot traffic wise, people go there sometimes for like destinations, or they'll go there for the bars, but they
Right.
won't necessarily go there to go clothes shopping or go fun shopping. It's too close to Smith Haven Mall,
Yeah, it's true.
Like the malls really have changed the aesthetics of a lot of the towns around Long
Yeah.
Island. Sayville still managed to maintain a shopping town. It's full. It, for the most
beautiful.
part, doesn't have store vacancies. Like if a store is empty, it's only empty there for like a couple of months tops. But you know, it's a very picturesque town. People go there just to go take a walk because it's very cute, and people go there just to like go shopping because there's other clothing stores. So it appealed to me because it was a shopping neighborhood as opposed to like just a food or bar neighborhood. Plus there's a lot of Fire Island ferries that go out during the summer, and you know that helps the traffic because we get a lot of people from Manhattan and really all over the world that want to go to Fire Island.
Yeah.
And parking is good in town, and
right.
Their chamber puts on a lot of great events, so that's why I loved Sayville. And then the same thing with Patchogue is it is kind of a destination town where people come here to like spend a day or hang out, and it might not be like as picturesque, but
right.
it's still like a hangout town where people like to go and walk around, and that's what I need is foot traffic. Because here we have a lot of impulse purchases and a lot of small things that people are like, I didn't know I needed that, but now that I'm here, I totally need that thing. And in Sayville, you know, it's similar, but again, it's a little bit of a different demographic there. It's more boutique-y. It's like a higher-end town, and there's more of a shopping destination there.
Yeah.
And here's more of like a little bit wacky, kooky, funky, and so I tailored each store accordingly to the town.
Interesting. So in the future, whether it's far away or close by, is there a third town?
I was in Huntington already.
You were in Huntington.
And in Huntington, I mean, for one, it's hard to have 3 stores. Spreading my workload, and you know, I do so much. I invest so much of my personal time, thought, and energy into like what the product's going to be like, what the aesthetic of the store is like, and into curating everything. Plus, being on top of employees and payroll and paying the bills and trying to do everything. It's hard to do a good job at 3 stores, so I rather do a better job at 2 stores. So right now I'm pretty happy with 2. In Huntington, I was lucky enough that my friend owns a shop, Rosie's Vintage. It's a beautiful store that has all vintage home decor and accessories, and there's a closet there that I rent where I'm still able to maintain my Huntington presence, have the vintage clothing that I like, know and love, but not have to worry about the renting a whole storefront, utilities and employees and all that. So that way I could really focus on making Patchogue and Sayville as great as they can be.
So here in the Patchogue store, what things in the future can we look forward to? Any like events happening?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
In the summer?
I mean, even coming up in a couple of weeks on February 9th and 10th, whatever the weekend is before Valentine's Day, we're going to be having a pre-Valentine's Day photo shoot where I just created this big wooden moon that's based on Paper Moon, a movie from the 1920s. And so we'll have 1920s style photography on this prop moon that we created, so couples can take cute couples picture, even like an individual picture that's stylized and unique and one of a kind that you can't do anywhere else really on the island.
I like that. I like that idea.
Thank you. And St. Patrick's Day is coming up, so we might do something leprechaun-y, photo shoot wise, and we may do something with Easter as well. So we'll see if we'll do some sort of alternative bunny. And then besides photo shoots, there's a Live After 5 during the summer. We're also looking into getting some like psychic and seance-y type events and some mystical kind of events going on here.
Awesome!
To get something unique in. And we're also looking to get local artists involved and do little pop-ups and have maybe different artists here every weekend showing their work. So, yeah, a lot of events.
Wow. Rosie Ragamuffin, I hope you're watching this because that could be you. You could be one of those artists here in Patchogue.
And in Sayville, we have monthly art shows as well. The
Really?
first Friday of every month, we have an art show, and then we have open call going throughout the month for the next art show.
And people can contact...
Yeah, we could email us at shoppaperdollvintage@gmail.com and send your submissions in, or you could check us out on Facebook at Paper Doll Vintage. and see what the theme of the open call is, so that way you could send the according submissions to the theme of the month.
So at these events that we were just talking about, is Krampus going to be there?
Krampus doesn't come around till end of November. He's a Christmas dude. He's Santa's like counterpart. So we just had pictures with Krampus. So Krampus only comes around once a year, if you're bad.
Any celebrity guests?
Let's see. Well, we had in Sayville, we had Billy Corgan. We had, who else did we have? We have Michael Kors is like a regular customer of
Michael
ours.
Kors?
Yes.
Like the
designer.
handbag guy.
Yeah. So he comes
With the
in.
MK?
Yes.
What? That's amazing.
So he buys a lot of vintage as like a point of inspiration and a point of departure for his future collections. So I love watching his fashion shows and
So
seeing that.
you met him?
Yeah.
You met
we know each other. We go way back.
What? How tall is he?
Shorter than me, but I'm pretty tall.
I don't know. Ever since I met you, and most pictures that you've taken, you're in heels.
Yeah, but I'm still 5'10".
What? You're 5'10" in real life?
Yes.
Wow.
So add some shoes and heels, and I'm like 6'4".
What?
And big hair.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
So yeah, and then Isabella Rossellini has walked through here a couple of times. I don't know what she's bought or not. We've had Dee Snider. We've had Kiefer Sutherland at the Huntington store. We've had Josh McKinley from Project Runway. We've had the Baroness, who's like a latex designer out in the city. We've had a couple of cool like celebrity guests for sure. So
Dee Snider.
yeah.
You know, I actually met Dee Snider, and I was at a store, and I was selling a product. I forgot what it was. And I said, "Hey, would you like to take it?" He looked at me right in the eyes, and he goes, "We are not going to take it. No, we're not going to take it. We're not going to take it anymore." And then he walked out, and I was just like, "Come on, man." I was so sad that day.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
That was at the store that I used to work at, which is not as fabulous as any of your shops.
Oh, well, thank you.
And it'll never come close. Because that store is just not fun.
Well, here we are, and we're here to provide fun.
We are here to provide fun. Coming up in a future video, we're going to take a tour of this store. And we're going to see all the cool things that are available here at the store. I did take a look myself earlier in the day. And I got to tell you, they got hacky sacks. They got chattering teeth. They've got, well, I already mentioned, they got games that you cannot find. I personally cannot find anywhere else. They had a 1990s party here last summer, and I hope you bring that back.
I remember when you were here for that.
And they had
Pogs.
the Pogs, and the food truck was out there.
Yeah. Katie's food truck.
Katie's food truck, and there's plenty of other stuff that, like, I would come back here during the hours of operation, and I would definitely buy some things. And like, it's not just women's clothing. In fact, they sell National Geographic across the way from the camera. Behind the camera is National Geographic, and that's just so cool. How like the clothing, I get it. You know, the toys and stuff like that.
Sayville's our clothing destination. Here is more of like a gift shop and more something
Yeah.
for everybody. I mean, we have a lot of t-shirts and sweatshirts for dudes. We
saw that.
Our best sellers are some of our socks and some
Socks
of our
are really cool.
sunglasses, but and then of course the toys and
Oh, I love the
everybody
toys.
likes
I actually
those.
bought. You know what? You brought me back to an actual memory that I actually did have concerning your products. I did some experimenting, as you may or may not remember, with Twitch TV, and for 2 hours, very late at night, like 12 to like 2 in the morning or 2:30, whatever the case is, I would do this thing, and there's no record of this, unfortunately, where I took some things from your store that I bought, and they were like games, vintage games that I played by myself, and I had a good time. Unfortunately, there's no evidence of such event taking place, only because I really thought that Twitch TV was going to be like YouTube, where like YouTube takes archives everything that you do, and Twitch does not. But I was under the wrong impression. Anyway, they had this thing. They had this game here called Basket Case, where it's like you take these ping pong balls and you toss them into like a basketball hoop, and somebody wears it on their head. I did not wear this on my head, but I did, throw it into a chair against the wall, my basement, and I absolutely loved it. I still have the silly putty that I bought from this store in my den. I bought two, and I gave one to my goddaughter's brother, and he still has it. And we're gonna take a tour in a future video of the store, and it's gonna be awesome. So real quick, what's the address of this place, and what is the phone number?
It's 33 East Main Street in Patchogue, and the number is 631-730-8383.
Awesome. And in case you can't write it down or memorize it, whatever the case is, I'm sure Dominique here will type it up in the comments below. Bloop, down there. Exactly. Wouldn't it be cool if there's like a trap door down here and somebody popped up and they were just like, hey, I'm down here. But, man, that would be cool, but it's not going to happen. Or will it? Anyway, see ya.